Okay, hello everyone, this is the Two Young Men channel right here, and right now we're going to talk about a tutorial about Unity programming. Alright, so, the week after, which is about from March 16th to somewhere else like that, I think we might go into, me and Justin, we're finally going to, get along to each other, and then actually play and actually produce videos, a lot of cool stuff about them. So that'll be some kind of a golden week for our channel, I hope. Now, we're gonna play League of Legends, a Let's Play, a bunch of League of Legends, and more cool stuff that we're gonna share with together. So I hope the week after comes pretty fast and quickly. And however, let's just give it a sign of that, and just let's just talk about Unity programming. Alright, so here's the thing that I've actually created. So as you can see, this guy's holding a gun, and the robot lady is trying to fall, but she's just a test for the AI. So let her just take out the grid and just disappear. But right now I just created some kind of locomotion with some jump animations and a shoot function that just relates with the animation. So let's just give it in. So if I just take it aim, it's not going to fire, but as it's going to animate, it's just going to fire some raycast hits. And the sparkling effect, which is the what we call the particle effects, they're the ones who are indicating if it is firing or is being hit by the gun. So as you can see, it's just firing, and it's just going to stop firing as soon as I let go of my mouse. Alright, so there's another cool thing. So if you just get it in, it's just going to fall, and it's just going to roll based on the actual animations. Using the match target function, as you can see, it just rolls. And also there is another jump function that you can go, and it's just gonna fall on the ground, something like that. Very smoothly. Although it took a long time to actually do this thing, well, it's just gonna be alright. So this is just kind of a locomotion character that we're going to actually create. Okay, so there are 3 components that you are just going to implement into the actual avatar. Except for a rigid body and the capsule collider. I'm just going to talk about that later. But the Animator Controller is essentially important because all for the animations, and I've actually created a player control script which basically controls the actual movement and how the falling animation basically works. So that's about the player control, and it's just going to wait until Mo Develop is going to actually take a run at it. And after that, anim triggers is an extra component that I'm just going to talk about later on the scene. Okay, so let's just wait until Mo Develop runs on. So it's going to load for a sec. And there we go. We've got a player control. A few variables are what is unnecessary. I'm just going to clean it up after we take a look at it. So there is we're just gonna take a look at the script, and then let's just give it a go at it. So on the start, we're just gonna lock the mouse button in order for us to move the character smoothly without the worrying of the mouse just bouncing off the screen. So we have actually taken as screen lock cursor, which is going to set to equal to true. And we're going to state 3 name hashes for the animator component, which is the jump name hash, which is right there, the falling name hash, and also shooting name hash. So the jump name hash is where the jump animation is going to play as defining the name to the hash, and the falling name hash is where the jumping goes through. So if we go to the animator component, and if we take a look at jumping, I guess. So jumping is where so I'm just gonna talk about it later. So the jump is where we just press the space bar, and this dude avatar, he just jumps, something like that. That is called a jump. So one more time, that is a jump. Pretty smoothly. Watch the robot lady just fall off the street. So that is the actual jump. And there is another one called the jumping animation, which is, of course, I have put a trigger on the first starting point at the actual, like, the high, you know, this dunk plane, which is right here. There's some kind of trigger that if I just get past between them, and you can see that this guy's jumping. Some kind of bug on the motion rig, but it's gonna be alright. So if you go into the jump triggers, as you can see, we've got a lot of jump triggers somewhere near the scene, right there. As we can see, these are jump triggers. So if the character hits a jump trigger, it's just going to initialize the jumping animation, which is somehow like this, So it's jumping. Alright, so enough of that, and we're just gonna take a look at more scenes. So this is based on, like, on mouse down, which is like left or right. I don't care. So it's just like if a mouse button is pressed and it's just down, we're just gonna set the bool to shoot equals true. Now every single thing is all based on animator components. So we're just going to define the animation as well, we're gonna let the animation shoot if it's on mouse down, and we're gonna take a shooting state. So if it is on shooting state, it will tell the computer that it is shooting. The player is shooting. If it's not on true state, equals if it's false, actually, that will state the computer that the player is not firing. So that is the thing that we have defined right here, and we're just gonna take a look at how this basically works. So on mouse up, so like if it's pressed down and it's just like taken off and the mouse is no longer pressed, we're gonna say that's a shoot. You should not shoot, and it is not on shooting state. So these are the two functions that we're gonna take a look at on shooting functions. There are a bunch of things that we could do. Updates, we have actually added an animator component, and defining it by getting the component of the animator script. And also we have gotten a capsule collider, which is the actual collider that we have basically defined right on here, the capsule collider. Based on capsule collider, we're going to use some things that is pretty necessary in order to get some triggers. Now the animation state, which is the anim state, is basically the current animation state that the animator is playing. So if it's the current state is locomotion, jumping, falling, roll, or jump, either of these animations that's currently running is going to send it to this variable, which is the anim state. This is the same thing, although this is another layered kind of component, which is the shooting layer that we have actually defined. So you can see that we have the shoot mask. So if there are layers and there are shoot masks, you can see that you can, as you run, you can shoot. As you run, you can shoot. As you can jump, you can shoot. So this is the thing that we have basically had in mind. So like if you slide and you shoot, that's gonna be really, really cool. So we have made a avatar mask that defines only the head, the torso, and the right arm, and the IK chain. Since this is a Unity free version, I don't know if the IK chain will work because there's no IK chain right on here, so I cannot put it in. So let me know in the comments below if something like you can actually have. Alright. So after that, you could say, you can set the layer weight. So the layer weight is basically the weight mask, something like this. So, if the weight is 0, that means that the base layer is going to take over every single thing, even though you have another layer that's taken into place. However, if the weight is on 1, you can say that the selected mask of the avatar is going to initiate the animation that is based on a layer corresponding to the base layer, although in respect to the weight of the value of the weight that's going to hold. So we're just going to say it's just going to go full on power, and the shoot is going to have full respect on itself, although it's going to ignore the actual parts of what the base layer is trying to have in command. So that was what we have basically set. So the animation is going to set wait to the layer 1. So this is layer 1 and this is layer 0. So layer 1 is going to set to a weight mask of 1. Pretty simple enough, and we're going to get the component of rigid bodies based on the avatar that we have actually created, something like this. After that, we have set the shoot. So if animation, so if we're going to get a boolean variable from the animator script, which is the shoot function, and if the shoot variable is set to true, you can say that you're going to set another if statement saying that if it is on shooting state. So if the shooting state is equal to true, which is supposed to be, and the anim state layer, so this is the layer 1 state, is on shooting name hash. So if it is on current shooting name hash, which is weapon shoot. So if it's on the shoot function, right? If it's all on the shoot function, which is something like this. So weapon lower is what we're going to transition to, so it's not going to matter that much. So if it's on these states, so if shooting name hash is on the current state and the actual shooting state is equal to true, which is supposed to be, and also we're going to get another layer that is saying if the animation is not in transition. So transition means like the blending of from one animation state to another animation state. So if on raise, so this is a transition. So raise and it's going to shoot. But we only want is a shoot, right? The shoot like this. So we gotta say if it's not on transition, we're going to make a rate cast move forward, which is shooting actually with the acceleration of no distance for now. So it's going to shoot and it's going to fire a raycast projectile. So this is based on the particle effects that we're going to actually produce. So we're going to instantiate a particle effects, which is stored on the variable of gunshot. So on gunshot, there's going to be a transform game object. Yeah, it's going to be a game object, but it's going to add a particle effect on the instantiated clone that's going to actually put. So clone is going to spawn right on the location where the hit is actually, where the hit point is, which means that the raycast actually hits something. And this is just a relative local rotation that the hit is on. So it's just going to be like, so if the hit is hitting on the direction and there's some kind of rotation on the hit, it's just going to correspond to the actual rotation that the hit is on. And just going to destroy the clone in 0.3 seconds because we don't want clones to spawn as we basically run the game, because it's just going to consume a lot of lag. And it's just going to, I don't know if reload is going to basically do it. Alright, so we're just going to stick to the function. So, okay, so this is the reload. So we're going to take a reload and just going to get the function to reload. And on this reload function, there is a thing that if shooting state equals true, you can say that shoot equals false, which means that you're not going to shoot for a while, but you are on the shooting state. And we're just going to yield, we're just going to wait for a second for the fire rate to actually recoil, to like delay for a sec, and I'm just going to set to the shoot actually. But however, if the shooting state, if it's not on the shooting state, we have to set that the shoot equals false. So that's how the reload basically takes. And then it's just going to, the update function is going to give another looping cycle, and it's just going to give another looping kind of shooting segment as we go on. Alright, so this is the actual shooting state. This is another function that, if statement that I put, if the reload function is not stated, and call is just going to take it in and just going to do another action that's just going to take it. Okay, So this is just basically just minding ourselves that if you press space, you're just going to jump. If it's on the jump name hash, you're going to say the jump is false, which is going to prevent the jumping animation to revolve more than once. So it's going to jump once, right? It should not jump twice, even though I just pressed space once. So this is just preventing that to happen. Okay, so the falling name hash is where the base layer is falling. So we're just gonna take a look in more depth right on here. Alright, so we have put another array right on here. So this is another array that corresponds from our position to basically saying vector 3.up. So if you learned on vectors, three-dimensional vectors, it is a actual, what we call, it is some kind of a matrix variable. Simply stating, I don't know. It's a vector that has a magnitude and a direction, but however, on the third dimension, I presume that there's some kind of a velocity, the magnitude, and the actual direction, I guess. The z-axis is the magnitude, and the y and the x-axis is the direction. So, okay, I made a mistake. So on this third dimension, the z-axis is the magnitude and the velocity, and the x and y coordinate is the direction that's going to put. Alright, so this is how we're going to state. So up means the y direction, right? So the vector is going to set on a certain magnitude, but however the direction is on the y coordinate. The magnitude is what we're going to set on this statement right here. So this is minus vector 3.up, which means that the y direction simply points up, basically. But however, we're just going to give it into a negative form, which is going to point downward. So it's just going to point on the y coordinate. The direction is the y coordinate, but the magnitude that's going to take and the velocity is going to be a negative direction. So it's just going to be a negative direction, which is going to just fall onto the ground based on the player's position. That is saying that we're just going to put a raycast hit again, and basically what this is saying is that, okay, the laser beam or the ray is going to point from the feet to the ground infinity. So it's just going to dig the ground until it just hits an object that's just going to take. So this is how it's just going to go. So it's going to go down, infinity, until it hits some object. So this is saying, okay, if it hits some kind of object, we can presume that it's some kind of a surface or a ground plane, because it's pointing downwards and it's supposed to be normally ground plane. So if it's hit, we're just going to give another one saying that if hits info, so if the ray dot distance, so like, it's some kind of a radar, right? So it just give a laser beam, it just goes down and reflects, and it just goes bounce upping. It just goes bounce up, and we're just gonna measure the distance between the player, from the position that the ray is starting to the end point that it just hit. So we're just gonna give it another what we call distance between them. So distance between them is greater than 1.75. So 1.75 will guarantee that we are on ground and we do not have to have a falling animation state to get going. So if the distance is greater than this distance, and also the animation is not in transition based on the corresponding layer of 0, which is going to be the falling animation state. We're not going to set a in transition 1 because this is a shooting layer state, and we do not want a shooting state to be compared on transition. Alright, so this is from the layer 0, and we're just gonna say that is not in transition, and we're just gonna say the function of match target. Okay, here's what I have to say again. So on the animator component, there is a function called a match target, which is match target means it's just going to move the player on the position based on the animation it's just gonna go. Alright, sorry, I just got a little bit disturbed. So like the match target basically states that the player or the target that is on the script is going to move onto that position based on the relative velocity and the transition that the animation is playing. So that basically states that, let's say I just got a falling animation. And on the animation, we're just going to take a look at how this basically works. So we're just going to disable this guy. Everything. No match target, nothing else. So we're just going to take a look at it. Alright. So, okay, it's on the falling state. So, we're just gonna stay like this, and we're just gonna see how this goes. So as you can see that, something has just changed a little bit. So, as you go, and you jump, you can see that it somehow hits the ground, right? Let's just go to a higher, velocity and just see. As you can see, you're just falling because of the rigid body that's just gonna hold. Let's just go to jump trigger and just see how this goes. So if I jump, as you can see, it just falls on midair and it just like lands as you stand. So this is very unrealistic. What match target does is that it's just going to change the falling animation so that it hits the ground, not on midair. But there are functions that we have to state on the match target in order to basically set on that. So just gonna say match target. We're just going to try to match our position. Okay, okay, I just messed up. Alright, so we're just gonna match a target. So the matching target is from the point that it's going to hit. So the match target is from the hit point. So the ground. So the match target is going to match the target from the ground. So the quaternion identity is just a rotation that's we are locally in. So what are we going to basically match the target to? We're just going to produce a root animation component on the avatar targets. The root is basically our body. We're just going to move our body, okay, we're just going to make the root our body to the ground of 0, 1, 0, which is basically, we can say that as a ground. So we're just going to match target, weight mask. So this is basically saying how much are we going to transition to. So if this is the actual vector that we want to basically land on, or we want to match the target on this position, what kind of transition, how much time will it take to basically transition from our point in midair basically to our target position, which is 0, 1, 0, which is the y coordinate of the ground basically. So this is saying that it's just going to start from 0.35 frames to 0.5 frames. So on the animation, if we set to the frame of 0 to 1, it's just going to be on the middle of it. So it's just going to take a look at it and just see how this works. So we've seen that the falling animation is falling on midair, but right now it's not going to do that. It's just going to match the target basically, and it's just trying to move to the position of the ground. So as you can see, as you jump, you're just going to fall constantly, and it just when it hits the ground, it's just going to give a roll animation. Same thing as this. You just fell as you're standing, but right now you're just gonna fall, it's just gonna hit the ground, it's just gonna roll. Okay? Alright, so this is how it goes. Another shooting animation and the all local motions that you have actually put. Okay, so this is the script. This is the script. And also, well, I was moving my character with the mouse, so like left to right was the mouse, so you're just gonna get the axis of the input and mouse X. So if you go to the input, saying that the edit project settings, and if you go to inputs, you can see that there is a mouse X, which is saying that it's going to have a mouse movement. It's going to move in axis of during to the x-axis, and it's going to have sensitivity of 0.1, which is the default, and we can change that. All right. So we have moved the mouse X to multiplying the mouse sensitivity. So it's just saying that how much sensitive it's going to get. So it's set to let's see, mouse sensitivity, which is, there we go. I just set sensitivity to 10, which is very nice, very cool. So the vertical means the W or S or the arrow keys. It will be basically saying like forward or backward, that's gonna say. Alright, after that, I'm just gonna set the flow to speed in order to give it a nice transition between that. Then we go on locomotion. I have set the actual blend tree to a 2D freeform Cartesian. So if you basically give it in, it's just going to be two-dimensional states on speed and based on rotation speed. So while we have basically set on the vectors between that. And after we have basically set, there's a speed and rotation speed that we're going to set the float on the current frame update. So as we're going to go in, and it's just going to walk on based on speed, and it's just going to go, and it's going to run based on the blended trees that's going to go. So something like that. Alright, so this is the basic locomotion that we have basically put. Yeah, so I think that's done. So this is just the animation state that's going to transition to. This is just the jump states that's just going to blend into locomotion. So if we run the final state to win, we can just give it a state of the animation. It's just going to go very smoothly, although there are very different types of animations. So as you can see, it just runs pretty smoothly based on a blend tree, and you can get a animation that is like this. So on the next tutorial, we're just going to take another step on taking the Animator Controller of our script into a AI script. So take a look at that. This was a 2UMan channel right here, and we're just gonna end this tutorial right here. So if you liked it, press the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more awesome tutorials and playthroughs of a lot of things that we're gonna put on 2UMan channel. So alright, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Goodbye.